not ready.
Oh, cool. We're live. Anyways, greetings, readers and travelers. My name is Richie Stevens,
I'm Joel.
and this is Chattin Stats. Now, we have a few things that are going to be a little bit different. Obviously, this is our last live episode that we're going to be doing for a hot minute. We're going to be going over to recorded episode format, which I think it's going to be a little bit easier for us. We're going to get an editor. We're going to try to make this as professional as possible. We go off the rails quite a bit. That's going to happen on a live show.
What?
But we still have a good time. Joel, shut up. I'm still going. So, but it doesn't mean that the channel is changing. We're just going to be stepping away from doing the live episodes for a little bit. I'll still do live cold reads with Jessica 3 when her schedule frees up. But right now it's taking a toll on me. It's taking a toll on Joel. We're just kind of worn out, and we want to make sure we're giving you guys the best content possible. Now, speaking of the best content possible, we're talking a new series today. We are going to be talking specifically more of the first book in the series, which is Welcome to the Dark Ages. But we're going to be discussing Malory's series, Morgan and Merlin's Excellent Adventure. Here's the beautiful cover. Look at that cover. It's gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And joining us today, obviously, is a special guest of honor, Malory. Malory, how are we doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How's yourself?
Oh, another living day in paradise. It's 95 degrees here. I'm burning up and I am tired. So we love to see it. Joel, how are you?
I'm doing good. We got the AC on, so
Oh, we got the AC on too, but it's still hot.
See, it's hot here in the UK and we don't have AC anywhere, so it's just unpleasant really when it gets
that
hot.
Sounds unpleasant. Do you at least have a fan or anything going?
No, it's such an unusual experience for it to go above 10 degrees that suddenly the sun comes out and it's like death on earth here.
You got to remember Celsius and Fahrenheit, they don't cooperate correctly. So 10 degrees, that's got to be what? I don't know, because I don't know Celsius. We're weird.
For us, very, very hot would be 20 degrees, would be very, very hot. That would be people phoning in sick to work, not leaving, tarmac melting. But we're just not built for it in the UK. I think any temperature at all just freaks us out.
Now, how long, or I take it you're from the UK with the accent and everything. So have you ever visited the States or anything? Are you planning on visiting the States?
Yeah, we did our honeymoon in Cancun, which I think, and then I think when I was 14 or 15, my parents took me to New York for a little bit, but they've been the only times we've been over there. But I think that would be a long-term thing for us to come and visit, I think.
All right. I mean, well, I don't know if you heard about this, but in July there's this little convention. It's called Lit RPG Con.
Mentioned very much at all, really. No motion at all.
No. But that would definitely be a trip of like, hey, come visit us, come hang out, see all the shenanigans, because we're going to do a little field trip when we're in Denver for all of our UK folks and everything. Oh yeah, we're going to have fun. I lived in Colorado for about 5 years and we had a blast. I had a blast when I lived there. It's just expensive as hell. So
yeah,
that's not what I'm looking forward to. But enough of that. Why don't you give us a little bit of an elevator pitch on what is Morgan and Merlin's Excellent Adventure? Because I love the title of the series. It's given me a little there's this like movie trilogy that kind of came out. It's one of my favorites, Bill and Ted. Is that kind of the inspiration for that title?
Oh no, that 100%, absolutely.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy.
No, I mean it's the whole idea of it really is you take Arthurian myth, which I think everyone's got a fairly decent handle on the sort of the myths and the way Arthurian legend works, and then if you take Merlin out of it because somebody kills him, you've then got a very, very different vibe to how everything really a foundational myth for the UK really works out. And I really liked the idea, having read lots of isekai novels, that the idea of what would happen if you took somebody from the 21st century and moved them all the way back to try to solve the problem of Merlin not being there, really. I really like Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, and I thought that was a really good starting off point for saying, well, let's take someone who isn't helpful and isn't useful and doesn't have those sort of knowledge from the 21st century and stick them into the Dark Ages and sort of see what happens. And that's really the idea of the series, really, is someone trying to live up to be a legendary cultivator when they've got a starting position of being pretty useless, really.
Okay. So the book originally came out 2 months ago for the first release.
Came out to
for book 1, and book 2 just came out beginning of this month, which great listens so far. I'm currently in the middle of book 2 and I'm loving it, but
it's so good. I had to read them, listen to them back to back.
I'm happy, especially because with the new narrator and everything, which I don't know if we're really allowed to talk about, but obviously it was a little bit of a rocky launch at first.
Yes.
But we won't break any contracts. We won't give any ill will or anything towards anyone, but it's a fun listen. Narrator is absolutely killing it so far. Her name is Jess. Oh God, I just had it. Usually I'm a lot more prepared, but today apparently I am not. McKeon, is that how you pronounce her last name?
I think so, yeah. McKeon, yeah.
But she's doing a great job.
Brilliant.
So what was the main inspiration for wanting to do the Arthurian legend aspect of a story?
I think it's something you grow up with in the UK. It really is that story that you know about in so many different ways, really. I think whether you've got it in that sort of Sword in the Stone, sort of when Arthur's a young kid and you've seen the Disney movie, or there was a BBC series all about Merlin and Merlin growing up.
Great series.
It's just one of those things and it comes back and back again in so many different stories. And going to Tintagel was something we always did as a kid, which is what Camelot was based on.
Okay.
There's lots and lots of little touchstones of it, I think, that go through. I think if you're from the UK, there's very little about the Arthurian myths that you don't know in some way or other. But they're huge, and there's so many different versions of it, and so many different types of character, and different ways that they're depicted, really. And there's certainly in some of them you get a very, very dark version of Merlin, where he isn't helpful at all, and he's a very, very terrifying presence, really. And that was sort of the starting off point that I wanted, was that what we all know is this Merlin who's a really nice character and a really supportive backstage figure. But what happens if we've got a really, really dark Merlin that someone's killed and then has suddenly got to try to train somebody up, having spent the majority of his time basically killing off his apprentices because he can't be bothered with them, and that's left this gap that exists. And I liked that dichotomy of having somebody that's really, really focused and very powerful versus somebody that isn't and isn't particularly motivated as well. And I think because we get so much of that heavily motivated figures to improve and develop through Lit RPG, I really like the idea of, well, what happens if you've got a slacker that isn't really that invested but finds their motivation over the course of the novels, really. So certainly by the time we get to book 3, which is coming out in July, you've got someone that's really invested now in being the best cultivator that they can be. But I like the slow build up from someone who really wasn't very interested throughout the first half one, and then it really kicks in that she quite likes the power and she quite likes the ability to get stronger, and certainly the kickoff of the book 2 is she's suddenly got access to all of these powers, and that I thought was quite an interesting development rather than getting them right at the start.
It's definitely unique. I will say that. Joel, what's up?
It's unique as far as Arthurian legends. We haven't really seen that in Lit RPG yet. I absolutely love the humor that the main character brings. She's self-deprecating, but in a way that's not concerning.
She's not a punching bag. It's refreshing.
No.
Because on the last episode I said, hey, I like the character that's a punching bag because I can relate to him because I'm the punching bag. I kind of self-deprecate a little bit, but Morgan doesn't feel that way at all, which was a left field where she was like, oh yeah, by the way, my name's Morgan Le Fay. I was like, hold on, wait a second. We got to rewind this because did I miss something crucial here? So
between the self-deprecating humor and her past sexual antics. Peak humor, and the references. The references are great too.
Who doesn't love a good can of whoop ass? Let's be real.
Absolutely. Yes. And why wouldn't you name your technique
Favorite
about
ability.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's so refreshing because like I went in expecting it to have like the actual stats, the game system there. And this is more of a cultivation progression fantasy, which I was like, I would have preferred it to be because I like the stats, I like the system in place. Cultivation, I have to be like in a very like specific mood a lot of the times, but it works well. It took me a second, but I grew to it, and I'm like, all right, cool. This is my cup of tea right now. No pun intended. This is my actual like cup of tea. I'm for this. So
let's talk about the system because you're kind of stepping on my toes here, Rich.
I was leading you into it.
I
just spilled my water everywhere, but I'm leading you into it, Joel. Come on.
Yeah. I absolutely really enjoyed the system. There's a lot of really cool mechanics. Her soul space being unique and how it's like a painter studio, like really cool. The fact that she renames the tier list to Harry Potter characters, just and also like not being able to like teleport and stuff when other like cultivators are around, and just a lot of like even the little things are just really really good. I loved I think you did a good job with the system.
No, thank you. And I think what I wanted to do was get that. I think if you're from the UK, you've got a very clear idea of how Merlin uses magic and what magic is for. But I really wanted to I think one of the key things that make a lot of novels with very developed systems work is it is the box that you put it around, and it is the things that are possible and the things that aren't possible that make it fun. Because if anything's possible, if you've got the power to literally do anything that you want to, there's no joy there. There's no stakes. There's no possibility of a story moving on. And I think taking Merlin out, who had all of that power, and then he had been able to almost transcend being tied down by a system, to then put someone in that didn't know anything about the system at all and had to put their own spin on it in order to make sense of it to her. And that's where the idea of using Harry Potter came from. Because if you've got no idea about magic, but you've seen the Harry Potter things, you can work out what your tier lists are by how good the characters are, really.
Yeah, what was more what was Merlin's tier? Is like McGonagall or something like that.
McGonagall,
Shout out McGonagall.
Yeah, no, the tier list was great. Obviously, we mentioned the abilities, and the fact that she just makes up new abilities and names them, open up a can of whoop ass. Like,
which can we talk about the little like humor she has there, where she's like, "I figured it out faster than you did." Ha ha ha!
Yeah.
Suck a dick, Merlin.
I love it.
It's good. It's really good. It's my kind of humor. That's what I really like. Morgan does a really you did a really good job with her. So I'm all for it.
And I think that's what you want. You want people to enjoy and just have fun with this. And I think it is fun. And I think that's what I hope. Certainly, I think anyone that's ready to come back and said that was a lot of fun. I think that's the idea of someone that, and there's stakes to it. And she does have a deeper backstory as well. And I think people can engage with that as much as they want to, really. But I think hopefully it is a fun read. And as I said, the Audible narrator does a cracking job because she gets that energy and that fun there as well.
So this is one of the things that really works well for it is the fact that the humor in it, it's not dry. It's not like you're trying to be funny. It's just naturally funny is what it feels like. It doesn't feel like you're forcing all of this stuff in. It's just like, oh, joke just popped in the head, went to the paper. Yeah. Where somewhat RPGs and books in the genre as of late has either felt like it's been tried to be forced or it's just been dark. There's not really been a lot of good unforced humor in it. It doesn't feel natural. And I think you really excelled with writing this, where the humor is just, it's natural. It's there. It's a fun time. We're here for a ride, and we're going to get that ride. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, Guinevere probably is going to get that ride later in the story. I haven't gotten to that part yet. I don't know. But, you know, so, but this was a nice, refreshing taste where it didn't feel, like I said, it didn't feel forced. It was a fun ride. And I'm excited to continue on to through book 2, because I'm like halfway through, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have about 4
Has she
hours left.
gotten to the tower yet?
No.
Okay.
I'm on. My app's closing.
There's a scene I want to mention which has something to do with something I'll talk about later.
Do you want me to?
It's just a specific scene, how it relates to the character. You don't need to. I'll talk about it later. But
okay, because I don't want it spoiled for me or anything. But
no, that's all I'll really say about book 2.
Okay, we'll mainly focus on book 1 because there's a lot of comedic moments.
Another great thing is how you brought in the 13 artifacts.
Yeah.
From dude, that was really cool. I'm really excited to see the rest of those, and because I have no knowledge of
the 13 treasures of
what could possibly, and it reminded me a lot of I don't know if you've seen Akame ga Kill. It's an anime with you need to. It's really good. It definitely has that artifact, like limited. I think it was like 24 artifacts or something. Anyway, it was giving me those vibes. But specifically Drenwin.
Yeah.
Let's talk about her for a minute.
I love Drenwin. I absolutely love Drenwin. That sassy ass sword. It's so nice to have a sentient weapon because we don't get that enough either. There's only like 3 books series I can think of that have a sentient weapon of level of Eska, I guess, to it. But Drenwin, she's battling Frank the Axe up there. I don't know. I would not want to be in a room with either one of those together.
I think the key is if you've got a character that isn't very martial and isn't actually by themselves particularly powerful, if you want them to win fights, you've got to give them a really kick-ass weapon that can take care of itself. Because that's the only way you can credibly take on an army when you don't really know what you're doing.
I'm waiting for your version of the BFG from Doom at this point. That's what I'm ready for one of the artifacts to be, is just the BFG from, but it's a ballista instead of.
So what was I gonna say? Dang it. Drenwin. I love how the first time that Excalibur's mentioned is in the presence of Drenwin, where Merlin mentions her and Drenwin's like, oh, that prissy bitch. Like that's the first mention we get of Excalibur.
Which, I mean, it's nice that we do get the mention of Excalibur, because usually if you have the Legend of King Arthur in some way, shape, or form, Excalibur is always going to be there. Excalibur shows up. It's just like, Bilbo with Sting. Bilbo's always got to have Sting. Arthur's always got to have Excalibur.
Well, book 3 is called Quest for the Dark Blade, and I'll let you guess what the Dark Blade might.
Cool. I'm ready for it.
But yeah,
considering how book 2 ended.
Yeah.
Damn it, Joel! Don't spoil it for me. I can't wait. You beat me to it. I've been busy.
But I think again, because Excalibur is connected so strongly in Arthurian myth, it actually has a really weird presence about where he gets it from, who gives it to him, at what stage does he get it? Is that more important than his spear? And I think there are so many different ways that you can use it. I think just the idea that it is a snooty cow that actually isn't that crucial to Arthur as he grows up was just a fun thing to play around with, really.
So my question is, have you seen the anime Soul Eater?
No.
Go watch Soul Eater and wait for the episodes with Excalibur.
Soul Eater.
Okay.
Oh my god.
And he is very annoying.
I hate that sword, but I love that sword.
Soul Eater. I'll make sure.
It's one of my top animes, but the whole premise is you have the weapon and its Meister. So the weapons take like human form and then they transform when they're in combat and everything. Excalibur, I think it's 3 episodes dedicated to him,
Okay.
and it is amazing. The hold on, I think I can do this because
Man.
you're not gonna know. You're not when I tell you this damn sword with his human form, you're gonna be like, oh, like he's okay. That's not really.
Are you just gonna bring up a picture?
I'm gonna bring
of
up a picture of
Excalibur?
Excalibur. Yeah.
Okay.
Here,
So while you're doing that,
I got it.
okay.
I'm just sharing the screen thing. I'm not trying to. Damn it. There we go.
My dogs are freaking out.
There we go. That is Excalibur.
Oh, okay. Gosh. Okay.
That is Excalibur's like human form. Judas
Right.
Priest.
Right.
But imagine that guy thinking he's hot shit.
Yeah, and
Because
he
he's
tells
Excalibur.
and anytime like here's the in the Obama-esque poster fool, because he calls everyone a fool if they even try to question him. He's like fool, does the pose, and then boom. So that's Excalibur.
Okay.
We love Excalibur, but we also hate Excalibur. So I can't wait to
I
see
hate
how
Excalibur.
you do Excalibur, because I know for a fact you're going to top that because Judas Priest.
Fair enough.
So what I was going to mention earlier while he was bringing that up was another thing that Drenwin brings up is Richard and his sexual
Yes.
promiscuity. Very humorous.
I didn't do it.
What was why did you decide to make your main character sexually forward as much as she is?
I think the idea was that actually, in a lot of the text, the male characters are, and I think
Mhm.
you see an entirely. What I was trying to do was to have not a, though it is a female lead. I wanted what was a female lead that didn't have any of the hang-ups that you often see forced on female leads in novels. And I thought having somebody that was as open and as completely unbothered about discussing those things as a male lead would be quite interesting. And because I've got friends that are like that, and I've got friends that are female that would talk exactly in the same sort of way as Morgan does about their past and their future and
Yeah.
where they're at any one time. And I think
So
that's me.
Pancakes, don't get it twisted. It's not
Yeah.
a harem.
sword's not
There's
having
no
sex.
like sex scenes. There's no. It's just
The main
her
character, Morgan Le Fay, is very
mentioning her
sex.
past relationships and making self-deprecating humor from it.
And I don't think
And
it's
I love it.
I think it's more she's just sex positive.
Yeah.
That's the description
Yeah.
I would use for it. Not like yeah, she's very forward, she's very open. She's just sex
Yeah.
positive. She's like, hey, she knows she's hot shit. Let's go. We love it.
Especially with like her glow up.
Yes,
Oh,
makes
yeah.
very clear decisions about what she wants to look like when
Oh,
she
yeah.
when she can change.
So I want to talk about the characters and their relationships really quickly, because that's my thing. And usually I like that like emotional turmoil type, twist, which she does have like some baggage, like everyone does. She's human. She's not the like what's the main character syndrome where she's like, oh no, she's perfect. She's just gonna be the OP badass bitch she is, and she's gonna tear everything down. No, she's got her issues.
Yeah.
But she uses that self-deprecation as a coping mechanism a little bit. I totally don't do that. Joel, I've never done that once in my life. What is that, right?
Well,
But
you do it in a way that might cause concern. You should probably take
I
some
do it in a way where my therapist says that's unhealthy. Quit doing that. And I said, but it's funny. So
Is it though?
depends on who you ask. Damn it, Joel. Are we bringing back the let's try to break Richie segment of things? I don't got Zeckler in
Do
here.
I win a prize?
You get to deal with me. That's your prize.
Oh,
Jesus Christ. But the relationship, because she just kind of wakes up in this world. She's brought back, and Merlin's attached himself to her because, you know, he's kind of been killed. Spoiler alert. Merlin's dead. He's just a voice in her head. Can't wait to see how you resolve that. Yeah, it happens to all the powerful wizards. And that's the prologue of the book.
You're not
no one knows.
I was going to say, not much of a spoiler. Book page 2.
Yeah. But he's like the sassy uncle to her in a lot of the segments of, you know, he's like, I'm trying to mentor you, but you're being a dumb bitch sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear that like internal side, especially in book 2. He's sitting there, or she's sitting there talking to, oh my God, Arthur's mother. God, why am I?
Igraine.
Yes. And they're having wine together. And she's even like, is he really in your head? Yeah.
Oh,
God, I am so sorry that you have to deal with that. I hated him when he was alive. Now you get to deal with him? Yeah, I mean, yikes. Also, here's a really horrible plan. Let's try to go through with that, which, good God. So I gotta ask, like, how does Merlin know like some of the references that she like makes? Does he like foresee the reference? Like,
he's got time magic.
And he does have time magic.
I just kind of waved it away with that.
But
if you have a different explanation.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do with it is, I think he talks about it at the start, that he's been looking for a really, really, really long time for anybody with any possible potential, and she's literally it. That she is the last of all the possible people that he could ever choose. So I liked the idea he'd been moving across time, and there are some jokes that he gets. That's almost a recurring theme, really, that he gets some of her jokes really, really well, and they're very his thing, and then there's some that he completely has got no idea and no frame of reference for. So that's how, I mean, I'm a little bit older, and I think that's how I feel sometimes, is that you actually you get some jokes and you're like, oh, absolutely, I'm so down with the kids, I get that, and then the next few seconds I have no idea what words you've just used are.
You're just Steve Rogers in the Avengers. It's like, I got that reference.
That's the idea. I think that was what I wanted for him, was that he had those moments of, I absolutely understand 1989 dark comedies, and that Weekend at Bernie's gag you just made, I absolutely get. And then a few pages later, there's something he's got no concept at all of what she's trying to get at, but the reader does. And I quite liked that play off. So yeah, that's how he gets some of them, is that he's been looking for a long time, and she's unfortunately it.
I also like that, like, he's actually trying to be like, do you remember this? Like, does this area exist from where you're at? And there's a place that's supposed to fall, but it's ruins in her timeline. But then they prevent that from kind of happening. And she's like, wait, I have a memory of me and my sister there. Like, we went on vacation. That was, what is this? Like, I can't put my finger on it. And he's like, yeah, sorry, we changed the present.
Yeah.
Have fun. So all I kind of was putting together was just, you know, Doctor Who, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. It's just a ball, you know. Yeah. So I love it. Thank you so much for like all of these, because yes, that was Joel and I's bonding show, was Doctor Who. So
why did you decide that you're going to be so far ahead of the Arthurian legends whenever you started the series?
How do you mean?
So it picks up where you have the sections are like first invading, and
are you talking about, like,
Gwendolyn's still in the picture, but normally I feel like that's something that happens later sometimes.
I think I know. Sorry, I know what you mean. So rather than we're the once and future boy king drawing the sword out the stone, why have we got 30-year-old Arthur? And I think I like the idea of him being a playboy, and I thought that the idea of one of the biggest problems that we've got is Arthur's not grown up, and that he's still sleeping with everything that moves, and that he hasn't got an heir, which is sort of like the whole kind of point of being a king, is that you've got your heir sorted.
Yeah.
And that you've got Uther, because I mean a lot of the legends that I remember reading. I mean, I love the Bernard Cornwell novels, and those open with Uther still on the throne. And I liked that idea that you've got an Uther who's perfectly competent and is perfectly able to do his job, but his son's a complete wastrel, and that he really needs his son to man up. But also, he's a brilliant warrior, and I wanted to show that idea that you can be complicated. Just because you're an absolutely fantastic warlord doesn't mean you're a nice guy, and that you do what you're supposed to be doing. So I think what we've got with Arthur is someone that needs to grow up. And certainly what happens to him in book one, I wanted that idea that he has an opportunity to be a better guy. And I think what we see in book two is him sort of not really want to be a better guy either. And he has quite a long speech about not really wanting to be a better guy,
Yeah.
but he will.
Yeah.
And I think I just like people that are a bit more complicated than just what you often get with King Arthur, is that he is the force of all good, and that nothing bad can ever happen when Arthur's around. And I think having it more complicated than that and a little bit darker was quite attractive an idea, really.
It's definitely a good idea, because usually when we see Arthur, like Arthur's, if we're getting an Arthur legend, we usually see him as the young boy, kind of rugged, everything, doesn't really have his own place. And we see him go from Arthur to King Arthur. There's never really that transition. So I'm liking that we do get to see him more in this limelight of like, hey, he's not the king yet.
Yeah.
But he's on his journey to get there.
Yeah.
So,
and it's her. That's why she's there, is to help him. That's the whole point. Is that's why Merlin needs someone, because if he's dead, someone's got to help Arthur get on the throne.
Yeah. Oh, I apparently mistyped my last name. So thank you, JD. I did not notice that. Oops. Give me a second. I'm going to fix that real quick. It's been a day. Joel, I'm going to let you take over real quick while I do this.
Yeah. Is there anything positive, any questions that you have, or should we?
Like, are you asking him if he's got something for us?
Criticism, or I'm asking you. I'm asking the comment section.
Yeah. All right. Actually, you know what? Let's Malory. What questions do you have for us as the author to the readers? I don't think we've ever done something like that before, so I want to try something new.
I mean, I think you hit on it when we were talking earlier. Is I very consciously kept stats out. I wanted the techniques. I wanted a tier list. I wanted the sense of progression that was there. But I haven't hit the numbers as hard as I did in the first draft, just because I felt they didn't really add to what I was trying to do there. But do you feel it detracts from the story without them being there on a show called Chatting Stats?
No, because with Chattin' Stats, we always do the like progression, fantasy, cultivation, and gameplay. If there's some sort of progression system in there, we consider it for the show, because Chattin' Stats, it is a lit RPG podcast, but we try to bring other stuff in because we want to make sure that we're not excluding anyone or anything. And cats are now going ape shit behind me. But like I said, when we first started, I was expecting there to be like an actual game system involved, because I went into this completely blind. I had saw the live stream that you guys did for the announcement. I missed the beta read on it, and I was like, I'm just going to pick it up when it comes out. I'm going to go in completely blind. I'm excited about this book. It sounds like it's got an interesting concept, and I was expecting the game system there, but then it was cultivation. I was like, huh. Okay.
So
I can do this.
Whenever Richie mentions like progression fantasy, that's sort of my overall umbrella catch-all terms for anything progression, or anything gamelit, anything cultivation, dungeon core, city builder. So like anything that is remotely has some sort of system of progression, I absolutely love just that quantifiable progression. It adds to the reading experience.
Yeah.
But that's mainly where I stand as far as like I like let's say this game or it was like gamelit. I don't think it would have changed much. I
I don't think
really
it would.
enjoyed the cultivation aspect,
Yeah.
and I think it fit well with the system. I will say I'm surprised that you didn't use like mana as like your energy source instead of like what is it?
Gee.
Yeah, it's
Chi.
true.
Yeah.
It gets more of like
what
a
was your deciding? Like, how did you decide on chi?
I think I was really beware of chicken, and I'd not actually got my brain into the idea of how much of a satire that was while I was reading through it. And I thought, as I was going through and seeing how much fun I was having with that, thought that was my starting off point. Really, was wouldn't it be fun if someone had done this with Arthur rather than using other cultures, myths, and legends as a starting off point? What would it look like if we had a rather than a wizard Merlin, we had a cultivator Merlin? And that was really plot points 1 and 2, really. And then once I'd sort of come from there, it felt arch to move away from that. Really, I thought, well, if I'm going to have that as my absolute starting off sort of thought with it, let's see how it rolls as keeping it going through. And I think by the time I got to the idea that we were developing techniques, and I was thinking, well, if we're going to grab the techniques from WWE wrestling moves, it sort of felt like I should honor where I'd started from, really. So it stayed as Chi as I went into the draft.
That's fair. I think the chi was what, like, actually once they started talking, I was like, that it made me chuckle, and I was like, okay, I kind of see where you were going with this.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting, like, the stats and the mana. I was like, oh, wizards, it's gonna have that game, that like OP, wizard
Yeah,
type
when someone
character.
mentions Merlin, I think mana, like
Yeah.
wizards.
Yeah.
So
But then you get a can of whoop ass and wrestling moves, and
Yeah.
I'm all for it because I'm a WWE
Yeah.
nerd. Like, I worked in the wrestling industry as a commentator. Let's go. I'm all for this. And that was another thing that sold me. I was like, oh my God, I can watch another wizard get suplexed. Sign me up. I'm ready for this. So it does kind of give a vibe of a, like, there can only be one type thing, like a little Highlander vibe, because she's not able to do a lot of, or some of her abilities like fast travel or anything when she has the other cultivators. And so what was like the inspiration with that, like kind of giving her the restriction? It's like, oh, you can't fast travel with enemies around.
I think it comes from sci-fi. I had in my head
Okay.
that there was something that I'd seen in sci-fi where I think it's oh, my brain's gone, but what's the legacy Star Wars novels with Thrawn?
Oh, the Heir to the Empire?
That's the one, and they can't
Yeah.
jump to light speed when they're in the bubble by one of the ship's broadcasts. And I thought that was such a good way of limiting the power of the characters, that while this destroyer was out above them, they weren't able to light speed out. I thought, well, that's quite a cool way of limiting someone down. And I think that was what I was looking for quite a lot, was if you've got almost boundless power, how do you create a box around it which makes it interesting? And I think not being able to fast travel when there's another wizard around is a very interesting way of meaning that you're putting very hard limits around what everybody can do.
Yeah.
And it's the same idea of Merlin talks about how you can't fast travel straight into Tintagel because he's made certain that it's properly defended in the same sort of way
Right.
there. And I thought that just stops everybody just jumping into everybody and assassinating them and moving on. And I thought that notion was quite a cool way of making the system powerful, but fundamentally limited and balanced, really.
Okay. So Panda Cakes did ask, is there a sequel in the works? So Panda, there are 2 books out right now. There's Welcome to the Dark Ages and Journey to the Dark Tower. Book 3 comes out in July. Which title is already escaping me? What was that, Malory?
The Dark Blade.
There you go. And that comes out in July. Which, do we have a July date, or is it just July at the moment?
I've got a feeling it's the 11th, but
right before Lit RPG Con. Cool. So I know what to listen to on the plane. But I'm going to
have in my head it's the 11th, and yes, she recorded all 3 of the audiobooks and in one big class. So,
nice.
I think, as I say, she nails it. So I think it's quite a lot of fun here in
July 8th.
8th better than the 11th.
A month before my birthday. Let's go, baby.
All right. So you don't have to answer this because it's not. This is the interpretation I had, because I don't think it was specifically stated. Whenever she's in combat, Merlin stops talking to her. Is that a conscious decision on his half, or is it a limitation on proximity of cultivators? You don't have to.
No.
You can
I
just
think
like,
the notion that he has very, very, very limited power, and I think I wanted to show that right at the start, where he tries to help a little bit and then ends up just going quiet for a while because he's used up
yeah,
the energy that's there. And again, I think that limit on the fact that Merlin has incredibly limited resources and is having to choose very carefully when he interacts and when he interrupts, and that's why Drinwind's so important, because actually she's quite a baby cultivator for most of book one, and she'd be dead.
Yeah.
Merlin doesn't have the power to help, and she needed something that would. I think, depending on where you got up to in book two, Merlin gets opportunities to make use of power, and I think that's
Yeah.
quite a useful thing for the reader to see as well, is exactly how terrifying Merlin is when he has some opportunity for power in book two.
Okay. So I do have a question, because up to where I'm at, I don't know if this is if you would deem this a spoiler or not, because she does deem herself Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah.
That is her name there. But that's not her actual name from the timeline that she's originally from.
Yeah.
So my curiosity is trying to get the best of me. Is she actually Morgan, or will we see the real Morgan?
You will
we
meet
will
the
see
real
the
Morgan.
real
Okay,
Morgan.
cool. Because where I'm at, she has not shown up yet, so that's where I'm like, oh, oh
You spoiled
no,
that for yourself.
cool. I don't care. I'm okay with that, because it's something I can look forward to, and
Yeah.
I'm going to treat it like a noir. Be like, all right, where is she? Where is she hiding in plain sight that
Yeah.
I know she's here? So, no, I was just that was like
I'm
I was
excited
like,
for you. It's a big
I'm
reveal.
excited to continue. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
So the rest of the night I have planned out is because I got this bad boy right here, which is my ROG ally. It has the game Sworn on it, which, if you don't know what Sworn is, it is Hades but with Arthurian legend, and I've been playing the shit out of it
In the zone.
while listening to the book. That's been like my all right, cool. Oh, she just did this. Can I try to see? Can I see this? Okay, so that's how the rest of my night's gonna go with that, or I'm gonna play Doom of the Dark Ages, but still listen to the book, because why not, right? So I'm really excited to get back to this book now, because it's good. I did 3 listens of the first book, because I did it twice with the original narrator, because even though I bought it, I had downloaded it and it got delisted. I didn't delete it. I was like, I'm not getting rid of this. I can't. I'm too excited. This is good. And then we listened to some of it on the way down to Jordan Con, and then the new one dropped. I was like, all right, cool. Just gonna download. Oh, cool. Book two's out. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and pick that up real quick. So
one thing I did want to mention, because this kind of came to me, was she sort of has this meta level of self-realization where she's like, oh yeah, I like am not doing the right thing here or whatever. And then it feels like she doesn't really change that much. It felt like you wrote it out, had someone read it, have them tell you, hey, she made an oopsie here, and then just wrote in that she realized she made an oopsie, and then just kept it in there.
yeah.
Is that like how it went down, or was like how'd you write in those scenes?
Not really. I think the notion of that people don't cock up is just not realistic, isn't it? And I think I'd always planned these for quite a long series of novels where somebody will figure things out over the course of it, rather than be a super. I don't like things where people are absolutely Mary Sue on day one, and
Yeah.
I think that's why I've always struggled with some books where somebody just hits the ground running and everything's okay, and they change and their redemption arc kicks in straight away. And I think she is a fuck up. And I mean, she's very open throughout the book. She has spent 20 odd years being the biggest colossal fuck up she could possibly be in every aspect of her life. And to a certain extent, she isn't really up for a second life. And I think the idea that somebody would suddenly become a very competent person who would do what they're told and wouldn't make those bad decisions again as it goes through is very unlikely. So no, I think the idea of, I think I tried to make her. I certainly, I think on a certain draft through, I tried to make her a little bit more likable. In that, I think at one stage she was quite bullheadedly, I'm not going to do what anybody tells me. And I think at a certain extent, you think, actually, you're a brand new person in an entirely different world. You're probably going to take some advice as this goes through. But no, I think that conscious idea of her being just not instantly being fixed mattered to me, really. And I wanted it. I didn't want it to be, oh, and suddenly I'm a nice person, because she isn't. I mean, she's a pretty unpleasant person for some of her interactions.
Yeah, it just,
I would grab a
I don't
drink
know
with
why, but like it seemed like she was very self-aware whenever she was making mistakes. That
I think we are, though, aren't we? I don't think anybody makes a mistake and goes, I'm completely confused that hasn't worked out as well as it should have done. I think actually, when we make really big mistakes, we've all got that voice in our head that's going, this is such a terrible idea. And I think for a lot of it is, she goes, this is a really terrible idea. Do I really care that it's a terrible idea? And I think she doesn't. And I think I've tried to have lots of those little anecdotes from her life as it goes through, where this isn't the first time that she stood there and gone, I really shouldn't do this.
Right.
But let's do it. And I think certainly if you were given huge amounts of power and then someone said you probably shouldn't do that, you'd probably go, do you know what? I wonder what would happen if I did.
Another thing that I totally didn't realize that we haven't talked about yet, the chapter titles.
Yeah. Oh, they're fantastic. All right, I'm going to pull out the book really quickly because these are great.
It always starts with in which ... and then
the first chapter.
Incredibly,
this sets the tone. Okay, guys, for the people who have not checked this book out, the first chapter, chapter 1, is in which a legendary wizard fails to find my arse interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many good ones because in which lewd graffiti is introduced to the Dark Age Cornwall. I don't know why, but I chuckle every time because I look forward to know the chapters.
Yeah, you nailed the chapter titles.
There was one where they were talking about knockers.
Yes.
And I'm looking for that one because that one was ridiculously funny.
I think I read
sorry. Got it. Chapter 38, in which you need to understand the British find the word knocker so hilarious. This chapter is basically Caddyshack. Love it.
I'd read a guide for, because I haven't published very much on Royal Road at all, and I read a guide that said one of the most important things is when you're on latest updates, somebody must want to read your chapter, so make your chapter headings as funny as you can. So I think I certainly spent quite a lot of time trying to game out what would make somebody want to click on a chapter and read it. That was a very big part of where those chapter titles come from.
That is fair. I do have a question for you. Feel free to be like, I don't want to answer that at this time if you want. But it's a 3-book trilogy. I know you're writing your other set of books currently. I missed the beta read on those, so I do apologize because I've been my TBR is a monster and I hate it. Are you ever going to revisit the world in which you've created with Morgan and Merlin's Excellent Adventures, or?
Yeah, so book 4's on Royal Road.
Okay.
That's quite unsubtly based around the invention of Stonehenge. And I have I wanted it to be 6. So if you know the story of Arthur, there's a couple of characters that don't appear that are quite crucial.
Right.
By the end of the 3rd one, they appear in the 4th one, And then I think we all know how the story of Arthur ends up. And halfway through book 2, she gets a vision for what the end of Arthur is, and she's going to have to make a choice when the end of Arthur comes as to what she wants to do. And that's certainly how I see it, like the second trilogy finishing up, really.
Oh God, I feel like you're about to rip my heart out, and I don't like it, but I'm ready for these books. So, Joel, I'm gonna let you take over while I contemplate some stuff real quick. And actually, it sounds like someone's knocking at my door, so I will be right back.
I think what he's saying is we need this book so he can rip off the Band-Aid.
Absolutely.
No, so I'm working on the fourth one's on Royal Road. I think it's about 30,000 in. But I have been somewhat distracted by the trilogy that's coming out in January. So I've got to get back to Morgan and drive that forward. Now I've finished that one off.
Yeah. So one thing that we've been trying to do is we want to, when authors come on, to be able to get value from our podcast, and advertising it to like our, I don't know, I think we had like 62 views on the last episode. It's good, but it's like I feel like you're not getting the value that you could. So one thing that we do want to do is try and be a little more critical, but in like a positive manner of like we want to see you up here. Like we want to see you do fantastic and make the most amazing books that you can. So in that vein, we're gonna tear your book up. No, I'm joking. There's really like only a few things that I really thought was worth a mention. And Richie's not here right now, so if you can hear us, please close your ears. She, I mean, this goes a little with what I was saying earlier, where she doesn't really learn from her mistakes very well. But I think you missed a really big opportunity in book 2 whenever she's trapped in her time warp for the second time. She has Richie, close your ears. She has all the learning so far from Merlin. She's got the time warp to utilize that, and she's got motivation with the apparition of her sister telling her, hey, time to put on your big girl panties now. And she immediately is like, all right, I'm gonna do that. Drinwin, please help me. And then gets help from the other people in the Dark Tower. So I don't know. That to me was like, I think you missed out on like a good opportunity there.
I think the point again really is that I don't think depression and I mean she's an addictive depressive really. I don't think you snap out of those, and I think that because I spent quite a long time on trying to get that bit in the time loop just right really, because it could have gone. It was originally much longer.
Like it could have been
I cut it
easier
back
to
quite
just
a lot because
write it in, yeah.
and I think it was almost too trite for that to be. Oh, do you know what? If that had have just happened in her life, she'd have been all right. And I think I'm quite a big believer that there aren't these moments where if someone flicks the right switch or says the right words, that everything suddenly becomes okay again. And again, as I think, as I said, the idea is this is a little bit longer, and it goes on over a couple of other books. And I think the idea that just all she needed was a proper good talking to, and actually all of those personality flaws that have clearly held her back suddenly vanish. I mean, as you say, it's her second time loop. I mean, she's she's been through this before, and it's a bit more complicated than that. And that because that exact conversation with her sister had happened, and she basically tells her sister to fuck off, and she leaves, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the idea that I thought people would feel cheated if she had it again and went, you know what, you were right, and now I'm a better person.
Yeah.
But I take your point that actually
Yeah.
that could have been a moment. Again, then she meets Morgan Le Fay, and then we meet another major
I
character.
will say though, her learning alchemy, that was something she did on her own.
Yes.
She took the time, put in the work.
Yeah.
That was big steps for her.
Yeah.
But yeah. Another thing I wanted to mention was I feel like you might have missed out on sort of diversifying your system to where like the Saxons have a different type of cultivation with like writing, they have like the Celtic knots, and I don't know, maybe it's further in the series and I just haven't gotten there yet.
No, I think that is a fair point. I think that is right, and that actually was something that they mentioned, that these different types of cultivation, and Guinevere talks about how where she was in France, that they had different cultivation. I hadn't done enough to demonstrate that actually that is a different flavor, as opposed to just what Merlin has is what everyone has. I think I liked the idea of the way different people visualized it. So the fact that Merlin's is water and Morgan's is paint, and Melahan's is sand. I think I'm more drawn to that than fully fleshing out that actually different cultures would have a very different look at it is. And particularly as the whole thing is about an invasion. You're right. It would perhaps have been nice if the Saxon cultivators had a different process that effectively being mini Merlins, which he sort of dismissively is how he talks about them quite a lot. And I think that's probably a fair comment, I think.
There's one more aspect I want to hit on, and that is the different feeling for book 1 and book 2 when it comes to delving into gender stereotypes.
Okay.
We're like, so book 1, it was very humorous, very like, yeah, I was there, but it is sort of like made fun of. Where book 2, it sort of felt more like stabbing at the other gender type, if that makes sense. Like you have her talking with what's Arthur's bodyguard, like main. Yeah, she's like, oh, this guy having the confidence of like white straight male or something, and then you have Guinevere, obviously is like, they're just stupid dumb men, and then you have it goes the other way too, with Uther being like, all these women making dumb plans. So
Or
I don't.
Merlin.
It just felt more. Yeah,
Merlin
and Merlin too.
Well, I mean, Merlin, or is it Merlin or Arthur's bodyguard? That's like, hey, if Uther's in a bad mood, you're attractive, just whip out your tits, have a good time.
Yeah, it just felt more humorous in book 1, where book 2 it made me feel sort of way. I don't know. I think could just be me.
No, I think because book 1 is mostly mostly Morgan and Merlin. Book 2 is a slightly larger cast.
Yeah, you do flesh out the characters more in book 2, and I think the relationships between them.
Because I think the key moment that happens reasonably early on in book 2 is Arthur attacks her, and I think that really irritates her beyond anything else. And I think that no one else seems to care is what I thought, that because I take what you're saying, actually, that I think she does get very, very irritated that she's attacked, and no one.
That moment.
So I mean, okay. So I mean, it does have a place, especially in that time period, where that is a very prevalent thing going on, and I can see why you put it in your book and like it is where it is. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from when you put it in there. Sorry, that was what I had to say.
And as I say, I think it is. I think when the cast grows, you move away from one person who generally has no real view. As I said, the whole reason why I liked her character was that she could be effectively a male protagonist without any of the hang-ups that often go around female protagonists. And I think when it moved into book 2, quite a large portion of book 2 is other characters talking, and I think it again, it might have felt a little arch if they didn't reflect some of the views, and that's why I made Guinevere a much bigger character in book 2. Well, she only appears off stage in book 1, just to try to balance up that idea that women are basically not particularly useful at that time. Particularly as all the really powerful figures were male, really, in the novel. But I'm sorry it didn't quite land for you in the second.
Well, it's more just like the difference between the two books.
Yeah.
So like in book 1, you have Uther trying to sleep with Guinevere, and he's like, it sort of brings up it as like a humorous point of like, oh, I couldn't perform. She literally just sighed in disappointment, and I couldn't. Yeah. It was like a humorous like sort of like take, or like with Ygritte, I think in earlier chapters where she meets this woman who's the chapter's called like in which I meet a strong independent woman, and she's very like strong and independent, and it's not in a way that's like poking like the other gender, I guess.
No, I understand what you mean.
I don't know. If I'm wrong, in the comments, let me know. Call me out. I'm a dickhead.
Joel, I think you hit it on the head a little bit there with the main idea of there is a bigger like there is a tone shift in the books when it comes to the characters. Like, because book 1, it does focus mainly on Merlin and Morgan. Like, we get a few side chapters where we get a little bit of look at Arthur, we get a look at the king, but we never really see anyone else. Now we're being able to focus on everything. So it's going to change. It's, like if say a new character joins a sitcom after a few years, they've been running for a few seasons. Let's introduce this new character. Yeah. How's it going to receive? Well, we don't know unless we try. And it does feel like it. I'm curious because, the King Arthur Legends has a cast of characters. Yeah. There are a ton of characters in there, and I'm excited to see them. Yeah. I'm nervous to see them, though, because it's like, okay, some of them are not portrayed in the best of light in the Legends, but still, they are going to be crucial to the story in some way, shape, or form. So, but another thing when it comes to like the tone shift is earlier you had mentioned, that Arthur attacks Morgan, and it's like, okay, that threw me off guard real quick because I was like, I was expecting him to be really buddy and everything like that. He's like, you might have the voice of him in your head, but you're not him. Yeah. You didn't sit me on your lap and bounce me when I was a kid. Yeah. You did not raise me. You weren't there at my birth. Yeah. You're not Merlin. Yeah. If you ever speak out in such a way ever again, I'll kill you. I have no problem doing that. I was like, holy shit. Okay. Yeah. Arthur's not to be fucked with. Okay, cool. And it's made me a little nervous to like his character ever since. Yeah. Because I'm a little scared. Yeah. So damn it, Malory, what is in store for me now?
Just read the book, Richie. Just read the book.
I'm working on it, damn it. Normally I have to tell you to read the book. So
there's a character arc. It's in there.
Yeah. I'll finish it probably by tomorrow. So, but I think
all in all, great series.
Fantastic series.
Thank you.
Literally just like a couple things.
But it's overall, it's a great start. with it being a brand new series. It's got a lot of
Extremely
stuff.
interested and hyped to see where it goes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So Mallory, thank you for this, because
No,
this book
thank you.
is
It's a lot
it's
of fun.
damn good. It's damn good. We're trying to give a little bit more credibility, like, break it down a little bit more, because normally we just like, hey, the book's good, and then we ramble about other shit. But no, it's a fun read. I'm definitely intrigued. Like I said, I was a little off put because I was expecting the actual game system and everything there,
Yeah.
expecting it to be a little bit more lit RPG. It's got more of that epic fantasy cultivation vibe to it. Feels kind of like a wuxia novel in some elements, but I'm still like, all right, I'm here for this. All right, I can get down on this. And is it where one of those series where it's like, oh hey, new book dropped? Am I gonna drop the book I'm currently in? It depends on the book. Like if it's Dungeon Crawler Carl, I can't drop that. But
No, I'd probably drop it.
I don't know. I mean, I would drop your yeah, I would drop Matt's book for your book because Matt is mean to me. So yeah, Matt Dineman, I'm talking about you. But no, overall, it is a great series. It's a lot of
Thank
fun. It's keeping me intrigued. I'm nervous to see where it goes because like I have anxiety. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Job done, really. That
It's keeping me on the edge of my seat and it's keeping me entertained. So that's I'll accept it, and I'm excited to keep going with the series. But this brings us to our fun portion, which Mallory, I don't know if you've ever watched the show. If you haven't, I don't blame you. We do a segment at the end of our show called "Hey, what you been reading?" And it's where you give a shout out to like what's been on your TBR list that you've gotten through recently, and give a list of your current stuff. Joel and I usually have a list of things because the show keeps us busy and we have a lot of reading to do. So, Mallory, what have you been reading recently?
I've just finished off Mage Tank. Have you come across that one?
Great
Okay.
damn series.
Loved it.
Shout out. Are you doing the audiobook or just the actual?
No, I'm reading it. I have a
Ah.
lot of time to read, so I read. But no, I think that was a very interesting way of looking at something that I hadn't
It's
really
good.
thought
Damn
about.
good.
It.
Sequel
Very-
comes out in July, I think.
Yes. I was trying to see if I could make it last until I could pick the sequel, but finished it now, so can't.
It's fair.
Can't. But no, that's been a lot of fun, and wasn't really expecting how it was going to go either, which was a good one.
That's one that threw me off. So,
Yeah.
But it's good. I saw that Daniel Wisniewski was doing the narration for it. That's why we picked
That's
it up.
usually a good sign. It's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
If Daniel's attached to it, it's like, okay, this is like a must read for us. So, but anything else you want to give a shout out to? Give us a list, man.
I'm sure everybody's gone. I'm on the last one of the Wandering Inn now. Well, the last one that's out, and that feels like that's been a labour of love to have got to there. But no, that's I've got that on one night, and then just finished off Mage Tank on the other. So that's been a very an interesting read.
All right. Anything else you want
I
to
feel
shout
bad.
out? Or?
I need to get back into that series.
Wandering Inn.
I went away from it from a bit, and then I started to see. I followed it on Twitter, or X as it's called now, and started to realise there were far many more than I'd realised that there were. So I've got myself caught back up, and yeah, I think that's been a good one to do.
See, when it comes to Pirate Abba stuff, I like their other series, the Gravesong series,
Really?
a lot more than the Wandering Inn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. It's more of the vibe I was looking for.
The singing.
Okay, Joel, it is definitely the singing. Andrea Parsons' voice is just gorgeous in that, so it could be the singing. It could be, but no, that one's it's really good. I like Pirate Abba stuff. So, yeah.
So Richie, what have you been reading?
Oh, you want me to go? Normally I go last, but I guess I could go second.
I threw you on the hot seat.
Damn it. All right, cool. So we're just gonna go through it real quick. Did a re-listen of Mayhem because I was just after the Steve Campbell episode. I needed to go back and listen to that. I'm caught up officially on the Dungeon Diving series from Bruce Centaur with the re-releases. Downtown Druid. I don't remember if I mentioned that last time, but it's a damn good listen. Return of the High Mage King. I don't remember if I mentioned that last time. Everything kind of blends together times a construct for me at this point. So yeah, and then I finished my re-listen to Welcome to the Dark Ages, and I'm currently in the middle of Journey to the Dark Tower. So that's been my little list. Physically, Rise from Ruin, the new book from Bane. I got an early copy at JordanCon, and I finished that, and it's damn good. I'm really excited to go through and talk about that one with Melissa because she did a good job with that. Joel, buddy, old pal.
So,
all right, cool. I think we can end the show now.
Oh, fuck off. Mage Reborn, Downtown Druid, Welcome to the Dark Ages and Dark Tower. Did I say Shadow Card Guardian last time? I don't remember.
No,
Rift
because you had
Warden
just started
Academy.
that.
Rift Warden Academy was a fantastic one.
Shout out, Craig.
Really enjoyed that one. I think I mentioned Azeroth Healer last time. But He Who Fights with Monsters comes out on the 20th. So really looking forward to that. And then I will be starting Golem Master Book 2 next week.
And the audiobook for that will be coming out soon too.
Yeah.
For Golem Master.
I got the physical copy.
Oh, I got the physical copies too. They're sitting over there.
Yeah.
So that's my next physical read.
That's what I've been up to.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. So, Malory, thank you so much for being on the show. We're so excited to have you on. Guys, we do apologize. This is our last live episode for the main show for a while. We're still going to do some like live streams and stuff like that. We'll do the cold reads with me and Jess still, but we're going to try something new. We're going to see how it works. If it doesn't, we'll figure something out and we might come back to the live
stream. Tier list episode coming up.
We do have the tier list episode. I got to get, because I got my new mic, I got to get my old one to Joel so that way we have the same quality of mic and everything because we want to make sure we're giving you guys the best production value possible. But also, the tier list episode is going to be the death of us.
It's going to be so hard.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to smoke something before the episode to keep me calm because that anxiety inducing it's going to be hard. It's going to be so hard. When people say, hey, like, what's your favorite lit RPG? It's like, I can't just pick one. I can't. It's too hard. There's so many good ones and we have to figure out what the rules and the bases are for it. So
it'll be a good episode.
It'll be a good episode, but we do have recorded episodes with Benjamin Carey coming up. We have Timothy McGowan, Craig Hamilton. We're probably going to do a couple more audiobook ones with Ryan Reed, Gary Furlong. You know, that sound booth theater team that is so freaking cool.
Nice.
Oh, we love them. We love sound booth. Joel, let's be real. It's sound booth theater. They're gems.
I'm surprised you haven't gotten a tattoo yet.
Yeah. I don't know. If Jeff pays for it, I might. But I'm not getting it on my ass. But we got some fun episodes planned, and I'm excited. We'll still be posting. We'll do updates. You can find us on Twitter at Stats on Stats. Still, I need to pay to change that, but you know, all that fun stuff. But we have some fun stuff, and we have the live streams at Lit RPG Con too that we're going to be doing. Interviews, everything. Which Malory, are you coming to Lit RPG Con or?
My wife is not allowing me out of the country this year.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
But
and I lost all of them. So
we will FaceTime you while we're there so you can say hi to everyone. We will make sure that people know that you want to be there. But
just not allowed. Just not allowed at the moment.
Hey, the boss said no, so that you know what, got to stick with it. So, but everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We had a great time. Malory, once again, thank you so much. We're excited for book 3. I got to get book 2 and add it to my shelf so that way I got the Legion shelf still going. So all that fun jazz. But yeah, it's been a good time and a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys. You all take care. Have a great evening, day, or afternoon, wherever time it is you're listening. But have a blessed one.